I saw this study that showed where scientifically they prove that you catch your breath quicker when you put your hands on your knees, like bent over when you're like doing a cardio workout or something. It's like your PE coaches lied to you your whole life. You're actually supposed to bend over and put your hands on your knees to catch your breath instead of putting it's way worse to put your hands above your head.
That is so true.
Weird.
Yeah, we were lied to. We're all 80s babies, though. Well, I don't know if we're all 80s babies.
Man. Like,
I'm not an 80s
fine.
baby.
Like,
so we're 80s babies.
I'm a 1993 baby.
I'm not 80s baby.
Dude, you're like, but you're like right on that line.
I mean, I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, you're right on that
but I
line.
was born before the 80s.
Yeah. I grew up on Game Boy Colors and Furbies.
I'm not.
Those
Game
things
Boy
were cool.
Colors. Yeah.
Come on. Super Mario Bros.
I grew up on a bike.
That's right.
What's up, everybody? Really excited to be here with you guys on the Every Dad podcast. You may be wondering to yourself, why is this guy starting off? Well, because we're trying some new stuff, and so it's my turn. So,
Basically,
fellas,
I didn't do a good enough job.
No,
so
it has
you're
nothing
like,
to do with
I'm
Ryan's
taking
performance. Ryan has done a stellar job, and the numbers have shown that. But we're trying something new. So, today, it's me, Ty. We've got Ryan over there. We've got Blake. Then we've got our awesome guest. This is Matt Henderson.
Hey, which camera am I supposed to be looking
Just
at?
all of them, any of them.
I
I know.
Hey, you just be natural, man. You just
do
have a
you.
conversation. We've got people
We'll
that
make them edit each other.
for
You know,
us,
it'll be
right?
great. It'll be
I'm here.
great. So,
I'm locked in.
We got. I mean, Debo's gonna edit for us,
Yeah.
and then we got Alexa Adkins, who is running a lot of our social media stuff. Thank
all
you
of
there.
it. I would argue all of it.
All of it, yeah, because I don't have anything. But and then we got What's Up Media. We got Sola Coffee Bar that kind of helps us. Well, they help us out because we're in their facility. And then we
right.
got Highland Park Baptist Church who supports this.
And
So
it's
we're super thankful for the people in our life that do some things for us that
right.
are way smarter than we are.
beginning to look a lot like Christmas in here.
beginning
I'll say
a
it.
lot like-
Best
Lots
time
of
of the year.
different decorations. We were setting up for this, and I was pretty nervous. Thought I was going to break an ornament or something, but yeah. So, fellas, how we doing?
I'm doing.
We ready for
great,
Christmas?
man. Yeah. Well, no.
Ryan, you ready for
No,
Christmas?
not at all.
You already know exactly what you're getting. You know, everybody in your family. You got like the
My
long
wife's
list of
taking
stuff.
care of.
Your wife takes care of it.
No.
Oh, your wife is taken care of.
Yeah,
I got you. Okay.
I think this year, like, I'm trying to get stuff for the older one. She's getting stuff for the younger one.
Okay.
And so, actually, she bought most of the stuff for the older one. So I'm kind of out of the picture on
Okay.
that. But we started out that way. That's good.
I'm interested to hear. So I guess you guys would be the only two that have, like, do y'all's kids still come with like wish lists or like items that they want, like priorities? Like,
Well,
how does that
I
work?
wouldn't call it a wish list,
Yeah.
but like we have to go. Hey, we need to know what you want.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I'll try to buy my son clothes, my oldest son clothes, and he looks at me like I'm an absolute idiot because he wants Goodwill clothes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the
Yeah.
stage where I'm pretty sure if I wanted to wrap like a comb, some Tupperware,
Do it.
some car keys,
That's what I was gonna
Absolutely.
she
say.
would be in absolute heaven.
Just
Yeah.
do it.
That's
man.
sort of my plan for this year. I'll
Spend
do
all
that
your
while
money
I
on your
can.
wife
Yeah.
100%.
and
Just the
yourself.
boxes. That's
I've
all
got,
they need.
They're still playing with the boxes.
Yeah,
That's
just
the phase I'm
play
in
in
right
the
now.
boxes.
They'll play
Yeah.
with the expensive stuff for a little while, and then they go straight to playing with the boxes and building forts and doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm just getting the boxes this year. So if you're listening to this, you're way too young to be on social media. But if you're listening to this, sons, you're not getting anything except for boxes this year. So awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey,
All right.
Matt,
well,
man, we're glad
back to Ryan.
Yeah, we're glad that you're here, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here.
You know, so before we start asking you all these questions, like tell us a little bit about yourself. Do you like walks on the beach and things like that? No, but like
I
you're
do.
married. How
I
long you
do.
been married
I've been married 18, going on 19 years. Yep.
Come on.
to the same woman?
To a woman I don't deserve. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Amy.
we say this
Yeah.
often around here. You way outpunted your coverage, bro.
Hey, I lied. And I just asked God for forgiveness. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, way outside of my coverage.
Yeah.
Way outside.
And you got 2 boys.
Yep. two sons.
How old are they?
One's 16, about to be 17, and one's just turned 13. So
Man, me and you in the same stage.
same life.
I got an
stages,
18 and
man.
14 year old.
Yeah, I mean, I love them though. They're great kids. Super proud of them.
I love them though.
Yeah, I love them, man.
I love
They're
'em.
great. Keep me on my toes,
Yeah, for sure.
especially my 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I'm just now meeting you for the first time today, so I know you know these guys, and I want you to know that the way Ty described you is in a way that I think all of us would love to be talked about, and I still don't really know what it means, but I just know if someone says this about
so
me, I'm
nervous
happy.
right now.
Like,
But he described you as a man's man,
oh, yeah,
and that we would get
yeah.
along great. So I
Yeah.
took that as a compliment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that you were going to talk about something regarding like the power of the tongue, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
can speak life and death, or the tongue is a sword. And so I was like, well, I like swords and blades and those kind of things, and I found out you like hunting.
Matt-
So
Yeah,
I feel
Matt
pretty
is
confident that we're going to get along just fine.
like
yeah,
ex-military,
yeah,
like
yeah. Prior service. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and you baseball, right?
Previously,
yeah,
past
yeah.
life, yeah.
Yeah. I knew.
No.
Well, you know, and I knew the same thing about you. I'll say you're a man's man, and I'll say that based off one assumption: your handshake.
Well,
When
there you
shook
go.
my hand, I said, "Yep."
I appreciate that.
That's
a good
man's man.
reminder for
yeah,
me.
man. It is.
Don't lighten
yeah.
up.
I think another good test is Matt. There's a small chance that maybe there's two here or not. Do you number one own your own tourniquet set?
There's not a set.
Number
it's just
two,
one.
I don't know what it calls. Do you see how out of touch
First
with
aid,
manhood
yeah. I have
am?
multiple first aid kits. If
You
that's
have
what
your
we're
own
talking
first
about.
aid. Okay, great.
First aid kits
Do you?
and packs.
But you don't. You didn't bring your own tourniquet, not set with you.
I mean, in the truck.
It's in your truck.
My man.
All right, Blake.
Yeah.
Do you have a tourniquet with you right now?
Yes.
On your person.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of the man's man test
Yeah.
for me.
I mean,
Okay.
also we all got belts on, so you
Do-
can apply a tourniquet.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have the first clue on how to use a belt.
So
Or turn that
a
into a
little
tourniquet.
context here. We pick on Blake because he 100% of the time carries a tourniquet with him in his pocket.
Is it? Are you prior service or anything? Or
No,
just,
not at all. I have a father-in-law who is also not military, but is very in tune with the
Yeah.
military community. He owns a shooting range, and they do a lot of really, really great things for a lot of the guys over at Eggland and training
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that, and met some really amazing people. So he's rubbed off on me all of his everyday carry and preparedness and all
Yeah,
those sorts
yeah.
of doomsday things
Yeah.
that we like to prepare for.
I was
so.
EMT
Everyday
certified.
carry what? Like, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
EDC. Yeah, I was EMT certified in the service. So,
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I did all my boards and stuff over at Keesler Air Force Base.
Very
So, yeah.
nice. Well, the other thing is on
thought my
most
joke
of
was
these
funny.
episodes, I'm outnumbered 3-1 on skinny jeans that are normally cuffed. So we got an even
Yeah,
ratio
yeah,
today.
Yeah. Only because again, like we were talking about previously, that I found out this was videoed. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, but you're 100% right talking about the power of life and death in the tongue. Yes.
So
100% right.
go ahead.
So in the conversation, the great transition, Blake.
Thanks for
you're-
keeping us on track,
Yeah,
Blake.
thanks for keeping us on track. What I would expect someone that brings a tourniquet to do. Yeah, through some of our conversations, we talked just a couple weeks ago actually, and one of the things that you had said. And we've had multiple chances to have, long conversations about fatherhood, and I love picking your brain. I love just kind of hearing your story and what God's done in your life and that sort of thing. And one of the things that you said was death and life are in the power of the tongue, and that was kind of you kind of labeled it as a philosophy that you have as a dad. And so I was really interested to kind of hear, where did that come from? What does that mean in your everyday parenting, and kind of what's the significance of that?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously we know it comes from Proverbs 18 is where that verse comes from, that death and life being in the power of the tongue. But, for me personally, it was just, the way I was raised was different. And it wasn't, I knew less of the life out of the tongue than I did anything else. And I saw the destructive power that maybe the tongue has. And as I didn't learn this, I'm the type, sadly enough, that didn't learn it quickly, didn't learn it easily. I left damage along the way. It's my story now. It's my motto now. Sure. But it wasn't always my motto in my marriage or in raising my kids. It wasn't always how I looked at it. But when I got to the place where I was with Christ about 4 or 5 years ago, and I just saw, you see this world. And we say power and death in the life of the tongue. I say the fingertips can be an extension of the tongue these days. You see social media, you see all these things that are just feeding, just death into kids and feeding them a lie about themselves and not the truth that the gospel offers. And I just felt like, man, you look around the world and you see so much death being offered through the power of a tongue, that speak life into it, man. Speak life into your kids. Tell your kids you love them. Tell them how proud you are of them. Speak life into what they're doing, their achievements, what they want to be in life. Let them be kids. Let them dream. Let them do those things, and speak life into your spouse. Speak life into the people that are around you. And I think once you start doing that and you see that in your life and you see that in people around you, I mean, it changes everything.
How would you say you struggled with it initially? You said there was a period of time where, like, this is a part of your story. So was it a matter of, like, you were trying to control situations, or you were overly critical, or you were trying to change people around you in a way that was maybe unfair? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I think for me, it was I for too long believed.
Matt's not afraid to say anything.
No.
Right, and I think that's part of that. You're not afraid to say anything to anybody about any. So,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was I think the example I saw growing up was different. Probably different than most. Maybe not. It was very stoic. Very the what the tongue offered, what words offered to me were not encouraging in a sense. And I think at that point in time, I built walls up at that point in time. And I said, okay, I'm not going to let anyone hurt me with anything said to me. And I'm going to use this in a way that I can maybe manipulate or maybe twist or gain selfishly. And so that's what I brought into marriage. And that's what I brought in to fatherhood,
Yeah.
Just because that's what I saw. And that's what I thought was, we say man's man, but that's what I thought was,
And one thing I like kind of about what we're doing here, and it's just constantly good to harp on this, is, again, we don't have any of this figured out. None of us are like the perfect example of even the topics that we're discussing. Like, it's weird how, I know that this topic in some form or fashion is coming this week, and so it's on my mind, and I'm trying to think this through, and then as I'm going about the past few days, past week or so, I'm realizing, like, man, I am so far from where I even want to be on this topic alone. And so for me, it's, my wife is always trying to remind me, like, hey, I recognize the same problem that you're mentioning to me right now. Like, what you're seeing and what you're explaining to me that I'm maybe doing wrong, I know that, but I need you to be encouraging rather than to just be simply, like, I'm trying to solve the problem immediately. Like, I'm not patient enough to let it play itself out and give her that leeway sometimes to do that. So, I mean, that was really exposed to me this week leading up to this. And so it's why I like doing this, though, is because these are topics that we don't have. It's not like we've got this magic formula, but it's a good way for us to kind of get this out and learn from each other too. So,
and we've even said it, like, I don't think there's probably not other dads sitting around talking about this sort of stuff. Like, I don't think dads encourage each other. I don't think husbands encourage each other. Like, and it's okay. It's okay to be able to have these types of conversations. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's a really good point. Something that I would be interested to hear what your thoughts are on, Matt. Like, there's something about this culture that associates, and obviously probably no one is going to say, I want to have death in my tongue. But like, practically, there's something that associates, I'm going to say whatever I want to say to whoever I want to say it to, and I don't care who it harms type mentality that's associated with strength.
Yeah.
Like,
Bravado.
where do you think, why do you think that is? Like,
yeah, I think a lot of these things may be generational, man. I look at my father and I think that was his father, and that was his father before him.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, someone has got to do I don't even want to say manly. Someone's got to do the right thing, the Christian thing. They got to, they've got to stand up and say, no, there is more power in looking into my son's eyes and telling him that I love him.
Yeah.
There's more power in the men that are in my life group class. I know you say a lot of men don't do it, but there's more power in me with the 5, 6, 7 men that are in my life group class talking to them every day and encouraging them
Yeah.
and telling them I love them. I got no problems looking at another grown man and saying, look, I love you, man. You're my brother in Christ. I love you. I'm here for you. I support you. Let me help you through my struggles that I've been through. Maybe I can help you over something you're going through. But you don't, they've bought the lie for too long that somehow, I don't know, flexing your muscles, saying whatever needs to be said is somehow manly or strong. And it really doesn't, man. It just, to me, being the way I was, knowing the way I know people, it points out your insecurities. Yeah. That's all it does to me.
A lot of it, I think, is probably, for the sake of winning an argument or the desire to be right. And we'll do anything to prove our point and just make sure that other person knows that we're right. But there's a great phrase that says, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So what's the point of winning an argument if that person internally, they might be, dadgummit, he's right, but they're never going to be on your side. They're never going to support that point of view because you've rammed it down their throats.
And what have you lost?
Right.
What have you lost?
The opportunity to win them over as a person.
You've
for sure.
lost a brother at that point. And I'm tired of losing brothers, man. I'm tired of losing people out here.
So one of the things that I appreciate about you, like, and I know, I probably know you a little bit better than your story different
You've been with me through some valleys.
Some of it, yeah. But like, what I appreciate about you is, I know you're not just saying that because you got a microphone and a camera in front of you. Like, I've seen you go from Matt A to Matt B, and I've seen this, and I see you live it out. I see you have these conversations. You've had those types of conversations with me. You're like, Ryan, I love you. Like, your brother-in-law Corey won't tell me that he loves me. Like, you tell me all the time, like, hey man. So I've seen that, but like, what? And this, we didn't give you this question beforehand, but I want to ask this question: like, what changed to where? All right, I used to be this, and I lived this way, and this is what I knew, and this is how I lived my life. But what changed to where you said, "All right, man, I'm gonna live scripturally," because you're all into Scripture, and you're all into what God has for you in your life, and you're not ashamed of that. And that's one of the things that's really cool. But what flipped?
Can I just use the 17-year-old church answer?
Absolutely.
Jesus. No, look, I don't know. I don't know everyone's story here. But there's one thing I've learned about God in my life, Christ. He's going to take you exactly where he's got to take you to break you. And he took me to a place that I pray that no one ever ends up at.
You can tweet that, boy.
And that's what he did. He broke me to a point I needed to be broken.
Yeah.
I don't know where yours was or where anyone else's was, but he took me where I needed to be broken, alone. And all I had was him. That was it.
Yeah.
In a sense of just crying out to him and begging him and pleading him to come into my life and change me. And he did.
Yeah.
And when I was at that point, I pray the most other people's is before that. Mine was at the verge of losing everything.
Yeah.
Family, marriage, everything. I was going to lose everything. And then when I was at that point, it was more about the fact of how separated I was from Christ than the fact that I was losing everything. And honestly, on the floor in my closet, just broken into pieces. Yeah. And it from that moment on, I started down a path with Christ. You said something a minute ago. I can't remember what it was, but you made your quote. But I started down a 2-year path with somebody at church who mentored me. I consider a great mentor in the faith. And what I learned about the Bible was wisdom, which is what I wanted in a sense, but it wasn't humility and wisdom are what go together. Pride and folly are what go together on the opposite.
Yeah.
And I had tons of pride. I'm submissive now. I'm a submissive husband, but I'm submissive to Christ.
Yeah.
And where beforehand, when I wanted to give me a checkbox on how to be a great husband, how to be a great father, how to be a great this, give me the checkbox, I'll check them.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It was, How do I be better connected to Christ? How do I be a better follower of Christ? How do I stay in my word daily? How do I fall in love with a God who, when I was his enemy, died for me? And guess what? It's amazing how this happens. I became a better father.
Yeah.
I became a better husband.
Yeah.
I became a better, I became better at all these things because Christ was now changing me. It's effect in the Bible with an E, which
Right.
requires change.
Yeah.
So, look, the devil, to quote a song, the devil thought he had me,
Yeah.
but Jesus said you're mine.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I've seen that, right? And I know that you've said those things and you've lived that out. And just looking at the culture of dads, like I think, and we've even talked about it, like the way that we are going to be a husband, and the way that we're going to be a better dad is as a byproduct of our relationship with
100%.
Yeah.
Jesus.
100%.
And but then even the way you speak and the things that you say are going to be a byproduct of your relationship with Jesus. So
100%. 100%. I mean,
yeah.
just get into James, dude. Get into
Yeah.
James.
Come on.
Figure out how much power is in this little
Yeah.
thing we call a tongue.
Well, and even, it talks about like it being the rudder of
Yeah.
a ship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it literally, like altering the course of something that, is massive, like, a ship. But one of my favorite songs, somebody actually showed it to me the other day, was I Found My Father in a Bible. I'll be honest with you, I've never even heard of the artist. It looked like a little, like, 16-year-old kid. I have no idea.
it's your favorite song, but you've never heard
Right
of the
now.
artist.
Yeah.
What?
You just said it's your favorite song, but you've never heard of the artist.
Well,
Prior
how
to
can
the
that not-
song, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Mine's
Oh,
I Met
yeah.
Jesus on
All
the
right, go.
radio by Calvin James.
What is it?
I Met Jesus on the radio.
No,
Go ahead.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
those
I'm
can
sorry.
exist, right? It's one of my favorite songs,
Yeah.
but I really don't know much about the author.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
what I'm
I
I'm
got
getting
you.
at.
I
But
got you.
anyways, in there he talks about how, like, his dad, like, he left him with all of this damage and all of these things, and so because you didn't, basically want to be my father, I had to go and find my father in a
Yeah.
Bible. And
Yeah.
then he talks about how he's never going to let, obviously, him. He's never going to have the same. He wants to leave a completely different legacy for his, for his kids. And, I think to a degree, I don't know if we've talked about this or not. I'm sure at some point we'll lay this all out, but, I was adopted, was adopted into a pastor's home. I mean, like, just a lot of God's, mercy, and, you see just second chances and all of these things. But, and my dad, my adoptive dad, loves me to the best of his ability, loves me unconditionally, but he's not perfect. He's a human being, right? And, we talk about this a lot, like, anytime imperfect people get together, and live life, it's going to be done imperfectly. And so, really, I loved what you said about, it was the foundation that you had on, not to apply those, lyrics to you, but finding, this is what an unconditional biblical, father is supposed to look
Yeah,
like.
I had no idea what love was. No idea.
yeah.
No idea what love was.
And starting with, because I've heard it said, no matter how good your parents are, like, they're going to let you down. I mean, at some point, everyone that's around you that you love, that you're putting all of your stock in, they're going to let you down because they're imperfect and they're trying to figure out, they're fathering for the first time, if you're a kid, like, whatever, they're doing all of these things for the first time. But it's only when we actually take the time to go, okay, where does our example have to come from?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And going, okay, it comes from a God that while
Yeah.
we were his enemy, he went to a cross and
Yeah.
he died for us. And so I think a lot of times we want, as dads, as men, we want 3 steps to a blank,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
We want to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. We want to say, okay, 3 steps to, this, and then you'll be a better dad. And, I think sometimes, even in some of these episodes, but I don't want us to be guilty of that. Like, it has to come from, finding a perfect model or a perfect example, and then building off of that. Anything else is going to end in, looking too much like the culture to ultimately bring the life that we're talking about when we're looking at trying to do the same thing with our children also, I think, at least.
Yeah. I mean, the focus has got to be off of I,
Yeah,
right? Because when we get a checklist, it's I.
right.
I can do this. I can do that. I can do all these things. I can check this box. The focus has got to be off of I, man. It's tough. I've had the same conversation with guys at church when we're talking about maybe stuff going on like with a marriage or something like that, and I'm like, okay, man, but look, we're talking about you.
Yeah.
We're not having a conversation about her. We're talking about you and your responsibility.
Well,
and most people want to start talking about the other, but I'm like, no. Our example's Christ.
sure.
Christ loved her so much he died for her. There's no caveat to that. There's no other. There's no if she does. There's none of that. So it's just Christ. So yeah, it's Christ or nothing, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
You look like you got something you want to say, Blake.
I've got like
the wheels are
4
turning.
different things I'm trying to
Go
figure
for
out
it.
how I want to.
Just ask.
You want a second?
Maybe 3.
One.
I'm still kind of struck by what you said earlier about and this is just not a way I've heard fatherhood described, and I like the way you prefaced it. But you said you had to learn to be submissive to your wife by being submissive to God, right? And then we're talking about this, bringing the focus off of myself. Ryan, you asked me a few weeks ago, I think on another one of these conversations, it's like, hey, when things are spiraling, when you feel like you're losing control, or what do you do? Like, what's the first instinct? Like, how do you recommend like kind of changing course? And it's like, well, just think about yourself maybe as little as possible, because human nature says, I've got to fix me. What are all the things that I need to make me feel whole? And we all, of course, it's obvious what the need is, right, through Christ, but is that sort of what you're getting at? Sounds like it. I don't mean to be obvious here, but it's just, hey, I'm in a bad place. I'm broken. I got to get this off of me. Start serving my family. Start. Whether that's through you didn't know what love was, so sacrificial love, speaking life into them, maybe taking just as much of the focus off of myself and onto them. And lo and behold, before you know it, you have a purpose now, and you have as much joy as you've ever had before because of that, and it seems counterintuitive.
It was. So for me, like I said earlier, I did like a 2-year study with a, I don't know if we can, I mean, it was with the pastor at church. I did like a 2-year study with him through the Bible, word study, right? I have, what are those black and white folders called? Whatever the
Composition.
Yeah, composition.
Yeah.
I have them stacked full of just a word in the Bible, like define a word, all verses associated with it. And through words of the Bible, right? So I did that, and that was the, I hate to say, because I didn't go to college or anything. That was the school side of it.
You're smarter. You're probably smarter for not going to college.
Yeah,
by the way,
smart.
these days.
But so that was like the theological, right? The school side of it, and then there was a spiritual side connected to God. But I was growing through this time. But what I found as I'm learning what love is, didn't know, learning what it is, connected to God. God's changing me. You want to change your wife? You want to change your marriage and change your wife? Stare your wife in the face every morning. Pray for her.
Yep.
Tell her you love her. Tell her you're proud of her. Speak life into her. You'll change your marriage.
I think one of the most
Stop focusing on anything else.
intimate things you could possibly do would be to pray with and for your wife out loud.
Yeah,
with
out
her.
loud
Yeah.
to your wife. You want to change your relationship with your kids. Look them in the eyes and tell them you're proud of them. Tell them
Yeah.
you love them. Speak life into them. Right? You didn't deserve it when God did it for you. I don't care what your kids did to not. They don't ever deserve to not feel that way. So speak life into them. And hey, I don't know how much damage has been done. Yeah. So I don't know the length of time it's going to take to get traction. But it will. It will one day. If you say our God is faithful and just, he who started a good work in you is faithful and just to see it through. You start it, you keep doing it, it'll gain traction.
Yeah.
Right? There's too much of the opposite in the world.
So as for word studies, I don't know if these are right or not. Our pastors flanking us on either side can check this later if they want. But I did a quick search. Don't know if this is a reliable source or not, but it's amazing how many times in that. Obviously, we all struggle with our speech and what we say, and so it's no surprise that the Bible is just full of this, right? And so the word mouth, far as I can find, is mentioned 424 times.
40 times, yeah.
That's amazing, man. I'm proud of you. You did go to school,
man.
didn't you?
Like,
It's
just
so quick.
that higher education, you know.
Yeah.
Tongue, I don't have a word count, but tongue, I don't know how much is getting confused with tongues, but tongue is over 120 passages mention the tongue. Lips is mentioned 119 times. Obviously, our theme verse, if you will, for today is from Proverbs. Most of them seem to be in Proverbs. Yeah. And so this speaking life, like, again, it's not supernatural to us, broken up 2 words, supernatural. It's not that natural to us. But if you jump back, Proverbs 15:28 says, "The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things." So if a righteous person, someone who is full of the Holy Spirit, is going to take the time to really think through what they're saying, which I don't know about you guys, but when I get a little upset or I want to correct something, I'm really quick to start spouting things off, and it's usually not good. Even if in my head I think it's good. So the quicker you, if you find yourself in that scenario where you just like can't stop talking, you're like, I need to shut my mouth, but I can't. Probably wicked things are coming out of your mouth, whether you realize it or not. And so taking that time to really think through what you're saying, that's pretty
speak, babe. Slow
right.
to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing over there, Ty?
Good. Yeah, I'm good.
We just turn this thing over to them, man.
Yeah.
Do what?
We can just turn this
Well,
thing over
y'all
to
said
them.
we'd get along.
No, absolutely.
So this is
like,
great.
No, this is awesome.
No, like,
this is what I was wanting to have.
This is
happen.
why we wanted Matt on here because, again, I can't emphasize enough. Like, this is who you are,
Yeah.
right?
Not
Like,
me. I'm totally making this
Directed.
up.
No. If
Directed.
you and I get on the phone, like we're probably talking about golf or a little bit about family, but golf or something like that. Okay. I get on the phone with Matt. I was in Mexico Beach. I went from Mexico Beach to Panama City, and I'm getting schooled by Matt Henderson. Like,
Not school. Just
no, we're just talking, and he's just talking through life and what he's doing and how life is going and what God's doing, and this is what he wants to do as a leader in the church. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, keep on, let's do it. Like,
Let's
so
do it, yeah.
I can't emphasize enough. Like, but that's a radical.
But
That's been
it
a radical
is.
change in your life.
It is, and to sit back now and be like, oh, let's look at all what God's doing, which is great. I mean, it is. I would never take anything away from what God's doing, but you also know some of the valleys I've been through.
Right.
So some of those, I look at it now and say I hate to say I know exactly what to do, but it's because I was so good at being wrong for so long. That and the damage that I caused, to my wife, to my kids, to people around me, because the focus and the direction was not directed in the right place. And so when God shifted me, I think about it. You said it earlier. What was it? It was love that I didn't know, and I was trying to equate it to something like, what did this love feel like? And as corny as it may sound, all I could think about was like, did y'all have anybody when y'all were growing up that gave like maybe your grandma or somebody that gave good hugs, like really good hugs?
Yeah,
like
I can think of 2 or 3 of
deep
that. Yeah.
in there kind of hugs. That's all I could equate it to. It was just kind of like this feeling that God kind of wrapped me up, and it was as I kind of that feeling kind of unfolded that I felt. I felt what I'm looking for in my life now, which is peace.
Yeah.
And I want. That's what I want. I mean, look, I am not perfect at it now. None of us are. I say things now. If my wife was here, she could tell you.
Yeah.
I say things now where my tongue's moving a whole lot faster than my brain is, and not perfect by any means, but trying to stay connected to a Savior who gave it all for me. And refusing to allow people to believe that I come in contact with, to the best of my ability, to believe they are anything less than who God calls them to be. This is on purpose for a purpose.
Yeah.
You were created for something. You're His handiwork, man. You were created in His image. Let's live up to that. Let's own up to that. So it's an amazing thing.
Absolutely. All right, so
Dog will hunt.
That dog will hunt.
Speaking of hunting,
Don't try and act like your jeans aren't
He's
skinny
hunting
all of
now.
a sudden.
Hey, hold on just a second. All right, I had to go and get me some not skinny jeans.
Hey, skinny
just for
jeans
this-
fit great in waiters.
just for this
You and I
podcast.
don't wear jeans for waiters. Anyway, so we'll kind of close it out with this question. Like, practically, like, if you could say, I want the dads and the husbands that are listening to this podcast right now, like, this is what I want you to know and understand. What's the takeaway from Matt Henderson?
Ooh.
We didn't give you that
Oh
question.
man, that's a tough one. How much time we got?
Well, just
No, I mean,
we'll cut
you know
off.
what I would want them to know? That, first of all, I mean, aside from the love that Christ offers them, right? And the changing, you are not too far gone. You have not made or said or done too many mistakes. you can regain that relationship with Christ first, with your children, with your family. But it is going to be understanding that it is a selfless relationship. Yeah. It is a sacrificial relationship. If you are willing to make those changes and invest in your family, invest in your relationship with Christ, hey, you got a brother in me.
Yeah.
I'll come alongside you, man. I mean, it does. I will do anything I can to help that person, but know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I've never done a podcast, but I was running through points in my head. But I was thinking to myself, look, I teach the high school seniors, so your son's in there. So I teach them on Sunday nights, and seniors, all high school boys on Sunday nights, and I teach a life group of adults on Sunday morning. I get the same questions.
Yeah.
From high school boys that I get from grown men.
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's just the same thing. Look, man, stop believing the lie that you have to be macho and masculine and prideful and arrogant and all these types of things, and understand that there is a lot more power in being humble and being apologetic and showing your kids what it means to be a father or a man after Christ.
Yeah.
Right? I was shown how to be a man's man. I was not shown how to be a godly Christian man. And there is way more power in that than there is in the other.
Somehow I still think you are capable of violence if it came down to it. And I'm here for that.
I don't choose violence.
No, only if you have to.
So
hey, you know how like sometimes people will like grab your shoulder and they give a nice little squeeze on your shoulder. Matt's one of these guys that he'll take his and then just and you're
felt
like
his handshake. Nah, he's good.
You know the pressure. Anyway,
I think of the scene in Batman where Bane goes, "Do you feel in charge?"
No. Yeah. No.
Never seen it.
Dude, you're loved, man.
Yeah.
You're loved by a God who gave it all up for you. I mean, what more? What else do you got to say to somebody, dude? Like, come hang out with me on the front row. We'll get, I mean, come on.
Matt is counterculture, folks, and you fit right in.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, dude, we really appreciate your time, your honesty, your vulnerability. Thanks for just sharing truth, man. It's good.
I love it, dude.
Ty, you got anything to
Appreciate being
add
here,
to
man.
it?
Very, very valuable stuff. I feel like I'm over here. I had my notes here. I should have brought my pen because there's like several things he said that I really wish that I still had. Luckily, it's
this is
on a
being
podcast,
recorded.
so I'm
right.
gonna have to go back and take notes on it.
I appreciate y'all letting me come, man. My wife will be happy I didn't say anything.
Nah, you did good. Blakey boy, you got anything?
I'm solid.
You're solid, always. Matt, anything else?
Thank y'all for having me.
I
man.
got it. All
appreciate
right. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening right here on the Every Dad Podcast.